Welcome back to another one of our EdTech videos from the EdTech Vault. In today's video, I'll be offering some suggestions of how else you might use the infographics and the slide deck across other areas of the curriculum. Let's go take a look. Let's now have a look at some of the other ways you might use the features in other subject areas, other ideas. I'm going to stick with computing for a moment, and I'm going to imagine that in my school, my teacher is about to, from our computing scheme of work here, from the Teach Computing scheme of work, they're going to be teaching this Year 5 unit on selection in quizzes. And what I did was I came to the website here and I downloaded the unit guide and then uploaded the unit guide into a new notebook as one source. And then just asked it to create a very simple infographic, even in the same theme and colors of our school. So I said burgundy and yellow, clearly defining what those programming concepts are that you'll have to teach the children, with some examples of how it relates to the context of that unit. And this is what it produced. So this would be quite a nice thing to go ahead and have for that teacher. It's got the colors there from the school, the burgundy and the yellow. So it's all kind of themed in a really nice way. It talks around what conditions are, shows the kind of example through the context of what the children will be doing in that unit by creating their quiz, by using conditions and using selection, and showing very simply and clearly to the teacher, this is how it's going to work. This is the flow of the program. This might help them when they come to teach the unit as just seeing something very much simplified for them. I quite like that idea. As I said before, with all the prompts that I use for all these infographics and slide decks, I'll pop them down in the comments below. If you've seen my other videos, you know how much I like to use the opening chapter from Letters from the Lighthouse. So what I did is I tried to upload that just to see what it would generate. So here's this one here on the right. I've just uploaded that free opening chapter to the book, and I just didn't put any prompts in. I just created a infographic and a slide deck to see what it produced. Now I had an idea that what it would probably produce is the kind of plot, because that's all it is. It's just the story, isn't it? So let's have a look and see what it created. So here, first of all, we've got the infographic. And this is quite a nice one because it shows us the plot through that opening chapter. So if we wanted to kind of summarize what happens within that chapter, this is quite a nice one. So you can imagine if you do this for some of the chapters that children are working on, or as we go through the book, or maybe we're focusing on one chapter for some writing that we're doing, this just very quickly and very easily just kind of summarizes with some visual kind of cues there as well, which children need, don't they, sometimes to kind of picture what's happening in the story. We've got some kind of visual support there going on, summarizing what happens in that chapter. All very nice. That could be up on display in the room or in their books to help support them. I quite like that. And it was no surprise to see that within the slide deck as well. It was kind of going through the opening chapter in the plot as well, but it also gives us some character descriptions as well in there, which I really liked. So we can see here what the story is about in kind of the first chapter. A nice little quote from the book as well. Nice title slide there. And as it goes through, it kind of sets the scene of what's happening. And again, it kind of takes some of the quotes from the story with some nice visual descriptions there, some nice illustrations that we could have to help support what is happening in the story. We've then got the three siblings, and that would probably help the children to visualize what these characters perhaps look like. The children could then go off into Canva maybe and could describe how they think the character looks and what they generate. Does it look similar to this, or does it look different in any way? This one is quite nice if we're thinking about, why is Suki here dressing up like her mom? How is that happening? How is she maybe dressing up in a way to make herself look older, like it says within the text as well? And start to ask questions. Why is she doing that? So it could help with our kind of reading comprehension there as well. Again, visualizing the children being in the cinema, all very useful. And as we saw earlier before, we can put this into Canva and we can just edit anything that we want to change the text, change the visuals in the background there. But That's quite cool, isn't it? Just to go through, you've read the chapter, and to go back through and just recap what's happening in the story, pulling out some of the quotes from the text itself, and a nice kind of final slide there about what do you think has happened to Olive here? What was the secret that drove Suki out of the cinema into the Blitz? So a bit of prediction going on there. That's with no prompting whatsoever. So just think what you can do when you prompt exactly what you want. So maybe it could be some different ideas around how maybe you use that in your English writing lessons, or maybe within your reading lessons as well. And what I'll do in the comments below is I'll put some ideas around how you might use the prompting to create some other ideas of how you might use that opening chapter as well within that English lesson. So again, another very cool way of maybe using NotebookLM there too. And again, perhaps maybe you've gone into another LLM or you've gone into another program and you've created your lesson plan. So here I've gone into Flint and I've created a lesson plan for a year 5 science lesson here on the Earth's rotation and day and night. And then once I'm happy that I've got that lesson plan, I've then downloaded that lesson plan from Flint and I've come into NotebookLM and I've created a new notebook and I've just uploaded that science lesson. Now, what are some of the things on the right hand side that I have created? Well, the first thing is, again, a really nice infographic that I could print out and put onto our science display as well, or I could print out and put into the children's books with some of the key things that we're going to be learning about in that lesson, some of the key vocabulary as well. Very nice. I then did try to create some slide decks for the lesson based on this lesson plan that I created, because this isn't from a scheme of work. This is something that I've created and tweaked within Flint to have this lesson exactly as I wanted, the timing, the activities, the adaptation within there as well, the practical activities that are going on. And when I just uploaded it in here and created a slide deck, you can see here I've got it as no prompting. It was very much not very applicable for using it in the classroom in any kind of way. Okay, it's not very appropriate at all, is it? No, the challenge begins the child's mind. The teacher prompt here, I don't need that on the screen. Yes, okay, we've got some of the things we want to learn about. But going through it, it just wasn't really applicable for my lesson. So it didn't really work out too well. So I had to go back into the prompting and see if I could fix this. So the first one I did was create this slide deck. The prompt was more around, this is going to be an educational slide deck to teach the lesson from the lesson plan. And it kind of improved it a little bit. We had a nice opening slide, but it kept putting things in there the children don't need to know about. This is a 60-minute blueprint for teaching this lesson. The children don't need to know that. We maybe don't need a lot of this content on the screen here. The children certainly don't need this. I mean, I know I could hide this slide and just move past it, and this is kind of my slide to guide me, but again, that's a waste of slide content being produced. Yeah, I've got my objectives there, my success criteria pretty good, but as I go through, I don't really need this phase 1. We don't really call it a phase when we're teaching a lesson and telling the children this is a 10-minute starter. Maybe I don't really need that. And guiding me in how long on the slide there. It's not the worst thing in the world, but again, I felt like I had to go back in and just refine the prompts again of what I needed. So I went back in and kind of said, I need this to guide me through the lesson plan, to help me to teach the lesson from what we have in the lesson plan, and don't put any content on the slides that tells children what the lesson's going to be about, or any notes for me on the slide. Those notes should be on my lesson plan. So I did that, and I got an improved version with the slide deck. That's a really nice kind of child-friendly opening question for the slide deck. I thought that was quite nice. And in the top right-hand corner, it is prompting me through the part of the lesson plan. These are the objectives to talk about. This is the starter we're going to do, where children have got to vote on each statement. I'd probably move those slides around, wouldn't I, and say, let's vote on the statements and then show the statements. Some really nice keywords there within my main input, and then just very simple slides, not overwhelming in any way, not overloading the cognitive load there with the content on the screen. I can use my notes and my, teaching the lesson in the input, what I'm going to say, and these are just guiding me with some nice visual cues for the children to understand what I'm talking about. Again, the main input there into the practical activity, showing children what we need, showing them how to set up the practical activity. That's really nice. Then have a discussion at the end of the lesson. Check up on the misconceptions. I'd probably go to Canva and get rid of that in the top right hand corner. But again, just check that we have understood the facts and not the myths. Then some nice exit tickets here, some activities. And then there is an actual slide there at the end. That is just to remind me. But again, I could get rid of that. So through tweaking those prompts, I finally got what I needed. And the more I get familiar with this, the more I know what I need to say when I come to prompt it for my slide deck. But as we saw earlier, I can put it into Canva and I can change anything that I need to anyway, so it's not a problem. I then thought, wouldn't it be cool of some of the key words from the lesson to create a really nice visual dictionary of those keywords with images as well. This will help to support all of our learners within the lesson, no matter what their needs are. So really nice. I know some is really obvious what night and day is, but it kind of shows how we have it there on the screen as well. So with some of that more technical vocabulary that we have in some lessons, it might be quite a nice way to have that visual dictionary that we can give our children. We don't have to print it off. We give them to this in their Seesaw or Google Classroom, whatever it is that we're using. We can put it on display in the room. I thought that was a really nice way of using those slide decks as well. So that could be a way you use it with your lesson plan, creating your own slide deck on a lesson plan that you've made exactly how you want it for your classroom as well. Rather than looking at some pre-made notebooks on NotebookLM, let's go in and make some new ones based on some other ideas around the curriculum. Let's start with English and English grammar in particular, and even more so particular, let's look at the word classes that children need to know. So I'm going to upload a file of some of the word classes I want to teach to children with some clear definitions on there and some examples. I'm going to go into my infographic here, and I'm going to on the edit, and I'm going to choose that I want it in portrait, standard, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in my prompt for this one. So here we go. Create a concise portrait infographic titled Word Classes at a Glance for primary pupils. Include the following word classes that are in my source there. Make sure it's short, child-friendly definition, simple example, small icon or visual to represent the word class. Keep the layout clean, minimal text, clear spacing. Do not include any extra grammatical terminology beyond these 7 word classes. Prioritize readability, simplicity, and suitability for Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2 classrooms. Let's run that and create that infographic. Hopefully we'll find something that we can put on display or we can put in their books that children could refer back to for help on those different word classes. And whilst that is running, I'm also going to create a slide deck that children can refer back to and I can use in my teaching as well. So I'm going to keep it as a detailed deck because I want this to be something that children can refer back to as well. Keep it as default. And again, within my prompt here, very similar to the infographic one, but at the bottom there, I've put a short little quiz that we can do to recap the word classes as well. So I'm going to generate that. So now I've got 2 hopefully generating. I've got my infographic and my slide deck. Let's leave that and see what we get produced from those prompts. Right, let's have a little look at our word class infographics and slide deck. The discrepancy here with the time is not quite accurate. I had to step out of this notebook and back into it. So it's probably not that normal gap in terms of when I press go on the infographic and the word class slide deck, FYI. Let's have a little look because I did ask for the 7 word class words from the document. There are actually more words on the word class documents, but I only asked for 7. Let's see if we've got that. Let's click on the infographic first and have a little look. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's pick out those 7. Perfect. And we've got each one. We've got the word class at a glance. Let's have a little look down. Yeah, we've got the word noun. the definition, and a really nice example there as well. Very happy with that. That could be great for my classroom. Let's have a look at the slide deck. Okay, the super sentence builders, your guide to the 7 main word classes. Here we go. Yeah, it looks that looks a little bit more key stage 1. Maybe my key stage 2 children might find that a little bit young, maybe. But again, we've got a nice definition there and some examples. Lovely. And we've got all 7 there, I can see. And then into our quiz to see what we've learned. Yes, very happy with that. I can put that into my Canva and make some changes if I need to. Now, interestingly, I made this for a school, one of my schools recently. So let's kind of compare with the same prompt, what was the output looking like? So let's bring up the infographic again. This is the one I've just made on the screen right now. And then let's go into the one I made for the school recently and have a look. We'll put them side by side. We'll flip between the 2 tabs and have a look. They look very similar, don't they? Yeah, very similar. That one does look more key stage 2-y, and that looks more key stage 1. Would you agree? I don't know. So there's the 2 infographics. Let's go out and have a look at the slide decks. Here we go. Where's the slide deck? Here we go. So here's the other one that I made. Let's bring the other one that I just made now. So let's make it nice and big. So there's that one we just made. And here's the one previously. Yeah, again, this probably looks a bit more key stage 2-like, doesn't it, as well? But yeah, I'm very happy with the content that has been produced here as well. Some clear definitions, some clear examples as well, and good examples as well. I mean, the ginger cat is an obvious one with the adjective before the noun here, but children sometimes forget that a word here like sleepy is the adjective of the cat, and because it ends in Y, they might get distracted by adverbs that end in Y. You know, it's that kind of thing. I quite like that. It's quite nice. Again, we've got our quiz at the bottom. Looking a little bit different. So even though the prompt was the exact same, it's no surprise that the outcome isn't exactly the same as well. But again, a really nice way of you hopefully creating some content there for your grammar lessons as well. Another obvious way of using the infographics is creating some kind of life cycle or maybe a water cycle. So what we could do is create a new notebook, find a really nice website that describes the water cycle. Here we are on the BBC website. Let's go and copy that link. It's got a really nice understanding there of the water cycle. Perfect. Go back into our notebook. We will paste this in as a website. Here we go. Paste it in, insert it. I don't think I need to prompt it at all here. I think I can just click on infographic and it will probably go ahead and generate a really nice infographic for the children on the water cycle that again I can put on display or put in their books. Let's leave that and see how it generates. Right, let's have a look and see what infographic it produced. And yes, as I thought, a really nice clear cycle there, clear guide of the water cycle, perfect for printing out, putting on display or in their book. So that could be another really nice idea of how to use the infographics there. As you can see, it takes a long time to produce these infographics and these slide decks. You can probably see in the background, it's getting darker. I'm sitting here quite a long time creating these infographics and slide decks. They're not quick, guys. We need some time to produce these. But again, a really nice idea there as well to have a go at. Many thanks again for watching. I do hope you found that useful. All the prompts that I've used today, I've popped in the comments below, and I've left you with one question as well. How are you planning on using infographics and slide decks in your school? I'd love to know, and it's great to share with others. That's it from us today, and we'll see you next time. All the best.